Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
So, questions? Myo Zen.
How do you manage it to be light on your feet in challenging times?
Let's see. I don't eat too much bread. I stay away from processed sugar. And I'm very disciplined about the amount of food I take in so I don't get too fat. Best way to stay light on my feet. Take care of myself. And I really don't take myself too serious. While at the same time realizing the very real issue about this existence is about life and death. Everything else, it's information, something to work with. Question from the group. Yes, Kenshin.
Is there a way to deal spiritually healthy with fame and gain?
Yeah, I think my response to this question would be similar to my response to Myozen, except for the diet stuff. It's not take myself too serious. To understand that fame gives me an opportunity to be of more service. That's what the critical aspect of a disciplined practice, rooted in self-reflection. Fame, gain, they're gifts. I simply need to be a good steward of those gifts if they come my way. Fame and gain don't make me special. They bestow upon me a very important responsibility. And without a disciplined practice, rooted in self-reflection, supported with a community of like-minded people, and an authentic teacher, I will not understand that. Those things are not about me. They just present me with opportunities, more and more ways to be of service. Question from the group.
Ivan.
Ivan, yes.
How do you practice forgiveness?
I don't. I'm not interested in this term forgiveness. How I apply myself is through understanding, acceptance, action. Forgiveness is an intellectual process, and it creates separation. It is essentially lazy. It's not my place. I have, for example, I've been a soldier in war. I've been responsible for killing, destruction. What was important for me in this process, to understand the nature of the karma which I have in, the nature of karma. And to understand there are two types. That which I have inherited, that which I create. So to understand that this is like this, the decisions I made to go to war, this was a result of the karma which I inherited. And in unawareness of that karma, then there became the karma I was creating through my actions. So to accept that this is like this, because that was like that. I need to wake up to these dynamics, become more conscious of them. Karma can be changed. Not fatalistically trapped in a preordained path. As I engage in this process of becoming more self-aware, which is not an intellectual process, I can change the karma that I have inherited. I can live differently. I can stop repeating those patterns. As this is, that becomes. So rather than look at the harms that people have caused me, I look at those as opportunities to wake up, how I've been conditioned to view the world. So forgiveness is not a term I really work with. And I do think that it's just essentially empty, this term. Question from the group. Yes, KG.
Last week something happened in my life where it happened that a person created harm for me. I did speak with the person, but this person doesn't see it this way. And now I catch myself that I am wishing her a similar situation to happen to her. I do experience.
So your question? What's your question?
I do experience that as something wrong. How can I deal with this?
There's no right or wrong. Those are relative terms. The reality is, it's if I perceive someone as created harm to me, I really need to explore if that's true, or if it's merely my perception. Did they actually create harm? Or did I perceive it as harm because it didn't happen the way I think it ought to have happened? Let's see, a couple weeks ago, I think, before I came over, I had a person who lives across the street from the house in the center. And there was a craftsman at the house. They had parked their car in front of one of the houses. The person living across the street didn't like it, didn't like where they parked. So they came over to the center. Not unusual, but they started screaming at me and using really not nice language. Their behavior was quite irrational. My first thought was to cause that person harm. My mind works like that. And I don't have to judge myself because of that. I'm of the nature to think like that. Because of the karma which I have inherited, in unawareness of that karma, I have acted in that way. I have hurt others. Hurt people. However, now I have an opportunity, because I have a disciplined practice rooted in self-reflection. I have tools which enable me to act differently, be present to my thoughts, my feelings, and my perceptions. I don't have to act. This is how then karma begins to become transformed. So when I have thoughts and feelings like this, it just gives me an insight into how the other person must feel. I mean, I can't feel what another person feels. I can only feel what I feel. But it can give me an indication. So to just be present, either rejecting my thoughts and feelings or holding on to them as absolute facts. And in the case of this other person, I was just very glad that I don't have to live in that space, in the space that he was living in. Because I have lived in that space. I know how painful that is. I don't have to live there today. Question from the group. Yes, Gatsugan.
Could you speak about why in practice one should not settle?
It depends on your interpretation of settling. For example, it's important to be able to settle into a steady, immobile sitting position. It is important to establish a disciplined practice, and not to settle into that. To approach each practice period with a freshness. And I can't think myself into that. You know, I look forward to sitting. Yeah, most of the time. I look forward to practice. And that means I look forward to all of the opportunities that are presented to me in my daily life. I'm approaching life with excitement, with interest, curiosity, with the opportunity to learn. And I love to have new experiences. I really value to be present for how my life unfolds in each and every moment, because there is no real security in routine. There's no real security where I think security comes from. Question from the group. Yes, Miyoko.
What is your process around letting go of, say, something you're chewing on?
Well, it depends if it tastes good or not. No, and you can take that literally or metaphorically. So, I think trusting into practice, what I've first had to accept and have come to understand, that all things that come into existence will pass away. So in time, those things that I'm chewing on will pass away. They'll subside. Either I swallow it or I spit it out. Yeah. Or it just somehow dissolves. But I have to want that. You know, the incident with the neighbor. I could hold on to that and I could chew on that forever. Life is too short. I don't want to waste my time with that. Oh, there's still a small part of me that really like to mess with this. Just really continue to irritate. It's just not worth it. Question from the group.
Do you have any idea or thought how we could be of service to a whirling city government?
Yeah, well, I have to look how I'm quarreling with the groups around me. Yes, and this is where I learn. And then I have to stop. The best thing I can do is learn from them how I don't want to be. There's nothing I can do about what's taking place outside of me, other than to use that to inform my own behavior. Question from the group. Natalie.
Hi, AnShin, how do you meditate when you feel really sick, can hardly breathe and cough and everything?
Well, let's see. So 2 summers ago, Getzigan was supporting me. I was in Italy. I contracted COVID. Yes, and there was a retreat happening. But I continued to interact with the group in a way that the protocols allowed me to interact with the group.
So how?
I maintained my online commitments, which includes sitting at 1 a.m. in the morning. And I have a group of combat veterans that I meet with at 1 a.m. on Sundays. I just do it the best I can. Yeah, I just do it the best I can. But understand that practice and daily life are not two things. So when I'm ill, how I work with the thoughts and feelings and perceptions that arise as a result of this relation with my illness can also become my practice. There isn't one way, no special way. It's just how to find my way. Question from the group. Yes, Nicola.
Are there people you have problems working with because maybe they evoke old behavior patterns in you, like they remind you of your mom or dad?
In truth, I don't. No one reminds me of my mother or father. Yeah, and really, I need to wake up to my mother and father in me. And if I'm having difficulties in interacting with someone, what my commitment to practice reveals to me is the gift that they're presenting me with. An opportunity to wake up to my suffering, find a more conscious way to work with that. Just really stop repeating aspects of that behavior which are not supportive to me or others. A way to heal my mother and father in me. A way to heal the conditioned patterns, the patterns I'm conditioned to always bring the focus back to self. Question from the group. Oh, Penny. Oh, yes.
In your life, how do you practice the slogan, how important is it?
I do that. I do that all the time. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions that have been asked, but that directly applies. I mean, the question again I asked, like, how important is it really? If it's external to me, I have very little power to change that external event. What I have an opportunity to do is to work with how I'm impacted by those external events, and then see how that influences my life. To be the peace I want to see in the world. When this person was actually assaulting me, I mean, the best thing I could do is just not respond, just to not say anything. Even when every fiber of my body was screaming at me to do something. Because in the end, how important is it really? I can thank the cats for supporting me in that one. No, it's absolutely true, because the person came to the front door, and so there are 2 doors in the front, a solid wood one and one with a lot of glass. So we open up the solid wood one. We had a guest that taught us how to do this. Put a chair in front of the glass one. We keep the glass one locked because the cats like to sit there and like to look at what's going on outside. Now the cats that we have don't go outside. Well, they don't go outside freely. So when my reaction was, when the person started being aggressive against me, my reaction was to unlock the door and attack him. But if I do that, the cats might get up. So it was a bell of mindfulness. Cats helped me to not hurt myself and others. It gave me a pause. Really, how important is it really? And then this plays out sometimes almost daily. Question from the group. Yes, Myo Zen.
Do you sometimes remember yourself what you can be thankful for, or are you naturally thankful for all kinds of things?
Yeah, I think that I'm just thankful. just thankful for the opportunities that I have in this life because of this practice. With the essential message. It doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what I believe, it matters what I do. And the point is to constantly challenge myself, never settle, not become complacent. There are moments when I'm more conscious of this thankfulness. And this is serious now. I was eternally grateful to the cats who supported me in not going to war, to give me the chance to think the process through. And by law, I would have been within my rights. Then the police come, all kinds of chaos, and I don't need that. The neighborhood doesn't need that. So in that moment, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that for all the gifts that have been freely given to me just because I'm willing to do things differently. It also comes back to a message that was passed on to me by the abbot of the first monastery I lived and studied in. If I'm to live this life, to really commit myself to this practice, then I must be prepared to give up everything, because that which I cling to will keep me trapped. Theoretically, I am prepared to give up everything. Now, I haven't been confronted with that. If I were confronted, I don't know how I would react, but I'm prepared, because all of this has little to do with me and everything to do with practice. Question. Yes, Leila.
Yes. Do you have actually a teacher, a life teacher?
Well, yeah. Last question. Peter, I was just wondering, because I haven't had a question from Peter today.
What do you think about the scientific pursuit to extend human life, possibly indefinitely, that at this time is attracting significant investment?
Personally, I would just rather they give that money to the Zolto Fund. That's a more realistic investment. No, I just really don't think about it much. Yes, I mean, it's true that I'm just in a place where I find life incredibly interesting. And I just really appreciate watching it unfold. And I was, let's see, what is it? There was this television series about these immortals. And there's been a lot of talk about immortals. But these immortals would always hunt for each other. They're always killing each other, chopping off their heads so they could get the juice from the other. That doesn't sound like a very interesting life to live. I don't have a lot of feelings about it. It'd be interesting, though, what benefits to humanity that sort of scientific research might have in other areas.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.